Namaskar. A warm welcome to World News, an Indian perspective on All India Radio. This is Ramya, and with me is Vaibhav Jyotsna Srivastav, bringing glimpses of the major developments of the day from across the globe. Over the next half an hour, we shall bring you the latest from the world of politics, economy, sports, entertainment, and more. The headlines. Prime Minister Narendra Modi arrives in Germany to attend G7 summit. Talks to focus on energy, food security, counter-terrorism, environment and democracy. New India is at the forefront of Industry 4.0 revolution, asserts Prime Minister Modi, addressing the Indian community in Munich. In the 90th edition of Mann Ki Baat program, Prime Minister Modi exhorts Indians to never forget the dreadful period of emergency, says people of the country defeated dictatorial mindset through democratic means. New Delhi proposes to hold 200 conferences for G20 delegates across India to showcase its richness and culture. Sri Lanka faces problems in securing fresh fuel supplies over payment issues, says Power and Energy Minister. Indian cricket team captain Rohit Sharma tests positive for COVID-19 ahead of Birmingham Test match against England. And Indian women's recurve team wins silver medal in Paris. Prime Minister Narendra Modi arrived in Munich on Sunday on a two-day visit to Germany, during which he will attend the G7 summit. He will discuss issues like energy, food security, counter-terrorism, environment and democracy with leaders of the G7 partner countries. In a tweet, the Prime Minister said he looks forward to fruitful discussions with world leaders during the summit. External Affairs Ministry in a tweet said that Mr. Modi will also hold several bilateral meetings on the sidelines of the summit. The summit is being hosted by Germany in its capacity as the chair of G7, a grouping of the world's 7 richest nations consisting of Canada, France, Germany, Italy, Japan, the United Kingdom and the United States. Mr. Modi got a warm welcome from the Indian diaspora after his arrival at Munich, Germany. He interacted with children among the members of the Indian diaspora gathered to welcome him. In his departure statement, the Prime Minister said it will be a pleasure to meet German Chancellor Olaf Scholz again after the productive India-Germany intergovernmental consultations last month. Mr. Modi said he will be visiting Schloss Elmau, Germany, at the invitation of the Chancellor of Germany for the G7 summit under the German presidency. In an effort to strengthen international collaborations on important global issues impacting humanity, Germany has also invited other democracies such as Argentina, Indonesia, Senegal and South Africa to the G7 summit. The G7 is bringing together fellow democracies for deliberations on important global issues impacting humanity. This year's G7 summit is an opportunity to send out a powerful signal of unity in these turbulent times, advocating for progress, prosperity, peace and security. The 7 working sessions of the summit will focus on various topics: global economy, partnerships for developing countries, foreign and security policy, sustainability, food security, multilateralism and digital transformation. On his way back to India, the Prime Minister will make a brief stopover to Abu Dhabi, UAE, for a meeting with UAE President and ruler of Abu Dhabi, Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan on Tuesday. He will convey personal condolences on the passing away of Sheikh Khalifa bin Zayed Al Nahyan, the former UAE President and ruler of Abu Dhabi.
The 7 G7 countries are Canada, France, Germany, Italy, Japan, the UK and the US. The European Union is represented jointly by the President of the European Council and the President of the European Commission and participates in all discussions as a guest. The 7 working sessions of the summit in Germany this time are focused on global economy, partnerships for developing countries, foreign and security policy, sustainability, food security, multilateralism and digital transformation. At the end of the summit, the leaders are expected to adopt leaders' communique. Meanwhile, thousands of protesters gathered against G7 in Munich. They were demanding an end to fossil fuels, preservation of biodiversity, food security and greater social justice. United States President Joe Biden and G7 nations opened a 3-day summit in the Bavarian Alps on Sunday. Leaders from United Kingdom, Germany, France, Italy, Canada and Japan are also participating in the summit. The leaders were set to announce new bans on imports of Russian gold, the latest in a series of sanctions the Club of Democracies hopes will further isolate Russia economically. A formal announcement was expected on Tuesday as the leaders met for their annual summit. They also were looking at possible price caps on energy meant to limit Russian oil and gas profits that Moscow can pump into its war efforts. President Biden was formally launching a global infrastructure partnership designed to counter China's influence in the developing world. The initiative aims to leverage $600 billion with fellow Group of 7 countries by 2027 to spend on global infrastructure projects.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi has said that India has shown that democracy can deliver and has delivered. Addressing the Indian diaspora at a community event in Munich, Germany on Sunday, Mr. Modi said, "Today we can proudly say that India is the mother of democracy."
हम भारतीय कहीं भी रहे अपनी डेमोक्रेसी पर गर्व करते हैं और हिंदुस्तानी गर्व से कह सकता है कि भारत मदर ऑफ डेमोक्रेसी है। लोकतंत्र का हजारों वर्षों का हमारा इतिहास आज भी भारत के कोने कोने में जीवंत है।
The Prime Minister said, "Today is the anniversary of the dark chapter in India's history, the emergency that was imposed in 1975. He said it was our democratic mindset that eventually prevailed and resisted the emergency. He said we Indians are proud of our democracy. Mr. Modi said the diversity of culture, food, clothes, music and traditions make our democracy vibrant. He said this diversity makes us stronger. Ek Bharat, Shresht Bharat. The Prime Minister said India is witnessing a tech and digital revolution. He said from the latest vaccination drive to public procurement to use of drones in agriculture, India is now moving towards an innovation-led future.
इंफॉर्मेशन टेक्नोलॉजी में, डिजिटल टेक्नोलॉजी में भारत अपना परचम लहरा रहा है। दुनिया में हो रहे रियल टाइम डिजिटल पेमेंट्स में से 40% ट्रांजैक्शन भारत में हो रहे हैं। आज भारत डेटा कंजम्पशन में नए रिकॉर्ड बना रहा है। भारत उन देशों में है जहां डेटा सबसे सस्ता है।
Mr. Modi said, with the highest mobile data consumption, India is one of the cheapest data providers in the world. He said Indians are making new records in data consumption, data prices, and even digital transactions. He said India is leading the way. The Prime Minister said today the new India is at the forefront of Industry 4.0. He said be it IT or digital technology, India is shining at every front. Mr. Modi said the India of the 21st century is leading the Industry 4.0 revolution.
आप सभी इस बात से परिचित हैं कि पिछली शताब्दी में तीसरी औद्योगिक क्रांति का जर्मनी और अन्य देशों ने कितना लाभ उठाया। भारत उस समय गुलाम था और इसलिए वो इस दौड़ में बहुत पीछे रह गया। लेकिन आज 21वीं सदी का भारत चौथी औद्योगिक क्रांति में इंडस्ट्री 4.0 में पीछे रहने वालों में नहीं बल्कि इस औद्योगिक क्रांति का नेतृत्व करने वालों में से एक है।
The Prime Minister said, in India now we have a unicorn every 10 days. 5,000 patents are being filed every month. He said we are progressing and we are growing. He said every month, on an average, India is making 500 railway coaches and providing 18 lakh household clean water under Har Ghar Jal. The Prime Minister said, today every village in our country is open defecation free, has electricity, has roads, and 99% of the villages also have clean cooking fuel. He said during COVID-19 pandemic, India ensured free ration to 80 crore poor people.
जिस तरह करोड़ों भारतीयों ने मिलकर बड़े बड़े लक्ष्य हासिल किए हैं वो अभूतपूर्व है। आज भारत का हर गांव ओपन डेफिकेशन फ्री है। आज भारत के हर गांव तक बिजली पहुंच चुकी है। आज भारत का लगभग हर गांव सड़क मार्ग से जुड़ चुका है। आज भारत के 99% से ज्यादा लोगों के पास क्लीन कुकिंग के लिए गैस कनेक्शन है। आज भारत का हर परिवार बैंकिंग व्यवस्था से जुड़ा हुआ है। आज भारत के हर गरीब को 5 लाख रुपए मुफ्त इलाज की सुविधा उपलब्ध है। कोरोना के इस समय में भारत पिछले 2 साल से 80 करोड़ गरीबों को मुफ्त अनाज सुनिश्चित कर रहा है।
Mr. Modi said, when a country makes the right decisions at the right time and with the right intent and works towards Sabka Vikas, it is imperative that the country will grow. He said few examples of the shining new India of the 21st century. Our GEM portal has over 50 lakh sellers, 12 to 15 lakh Indians are booking tickets online, drones are being used to sprinkle fertilizers, and PM Swamitva Yojana has helped in digital mapping of property in villages.
भारत में सरकार ने एक योजना शुरू की है, स्वामित्व योजना। इस योजना के तहत देश के लाखों गांवों में जमीन की मैपिंग, घरों की मैपिंग का काम ड्रोन ही कर रहे हैं। इस अभियान के द्वारा करोड़ों नागरिकों को प्रॉपर्टी सर्टिफिकेट दिए जा रहे हैं। प्राकृतिक आपदाओं के समय, राहत और बचाव के समय भी ड्रोन टेक्नोलॉजी का इस्तेमाल भारत में लगातार बढ़ रहा है।
Prime Minister Narendra Modi said government had put an ambitious target of 10% ethanol blending in petrol and it was achieved 5 months before the target. He said there was a time when people said India will take 10 to 15 years to vaccinate its population against COVID-19. Mr. Modi said today 90% adults have taken both the doses and 95% adults have taken at least one dose. The Prime Minister said Made in India vaccines became instrumental in saving lives across the world during the pandemic. The Prime Minister said there was a time when we were completely dependent on other countries for our mobile phone demands, and today India is the second largest mobile manufacturer that exports to other countries as well. PM Modi said we have moved from just a dream of Make in India to the third largest startup ecosystem, from being an importer of mobile phones to the second largest manufacturer of mobile phones. Mr. Modi said we are making in India for the world. The Prime Minister said India is stepping up to the challenges and has emerged as the hope of the world. He said with initiatives such as the PLI schemes, India has now enhanced its manufacturing capabilities significantly, and the world is also looking at India as a reliable supply chain partner. The Prime Minister said when the people of a nation come together and through Jan Bhagidari work towards transforming it, the nation witnesses an unshakable support from across the world. He said India is now on an unstoppable path of growth. Mr. Modi said climate change is not only for government policies. He said today our youth are adopting pro-climate technologies and sustainable practices. The Prime Minister said, as we celebrate 75 years of independence, India is now dreaming of new dreams, making new goals and working towards realizing them. Mr. Modi said India is moving from Sankalp to Samriddhi. He said today when India is celebrating Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav, we are setting new records of inclusiveness and aspirations. The Prime Minister said we are not only setting new targets but also working towards realizing those dreams. He said India is now no longer lamenting over global problems. Instead, India is leading the charge and providing sustainable solutions to the world. Mr. Modi said today with International Solar Alliance, India has given the mantra one sun, one world, one grid to the world.
आज हम इंटरनेशनल सोलर अलायंस के जरिए दुनिया भर के देशों को एक मंच पर ला रहे हैं ताकि सस्ती और एनवायरमेंट फ्रेंडली एनर्जी का लाभ दुनिया को दे सके। वन सन, वन वर्ल्ड, वन ग्रिड, ये सपना हमने दुनिया के सामने रखा है।
The Prime Minister said we have brought 21st century policies for the youth of New India, and today our youth will be able to complete their education in their own mother tongues. The Prime Minister said today India is working on building a new legacy and this is being led by the youth of the country. He expressed gratitude to the entire diaspora in Germany for the warm welcome and immense love. Mr. Modi said the Indians living abroad are not only the success story of India but also the brand ambassadors of our success. He said the Indian diaspora across the world are not only India's success story but also Rashtraduts who are taking India to the world and becoming brand ambassadors for the success of the nation.
आप इंडिया की सक्सेस स्टोरी भी है और भारत की सफलताओं के ब्रांड एम्बेसडर भी है और इसलिए मैं आप सब साथियों को विश्व भर में फैले हुए मेरे भारतीय भाइयों बहनों को हमेशा कहता हूं कि आप राष्ट्रदूत हैं। सरकारी व्यवस्था में एक दो राजदूत होते हैं, मेरे तो करोड़ों राष्ट्रदूत हैं जो मेरे देश को आगे बढ़ाएं।
Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Sunday exhorted Indians to never forget the dreadful period of emergency. Addressing the nation in the 90th episode of his monthly radio program, Mann Ki Baat on All India Radio, the Prime Minister said the generations to come should not forget the mass movement during the emergency. The emergency was imposed in the month of June in 1975. Prime Minister Modi recalled that all rights were taken away from the citizens of the country.
उस समय भारत के लोकतंत्र को कुचल देने का प्रयास किया गया था। देश की अदालतें, हर संवैधानिक संस्था, प्रेस, सब पर नियंत्रण लगा दिया गया था। सेंसरशिप की ये हालत थी कि बिना स्वीकृति कुछ भी छापा नहीं जा सकता था। मुझे याद है तब मशहूर गायक किशोर कुमार जी ने सरकार की वाहवाही करने से इनकार किया तो उन पर बैन लगा दिया गया। रेडियो पर से उनकी एंट्री ही हटा दी गई।
The Prime Minister stated that even after many attempts, thousands of arrests and atrocities on lakhs of people, the faith of the people on India in democracy did not shake. He said Indian people got rid of the emergency and re-established democracy in a democratic way. Mr. Modi admitted that it is difficult to find such an example of defeating a dictatorial mindset, a dictatorial tendency in a democratic way in the whole world.
भारत के हम लोगों में सदियों से जो लोकतंत्र के संस्कार चले आ रहे हैं, जो लोकतांत्रिक भावना हमारी रग रग में है, आखिरकार जीत उसी की हुई। भारत के लोगों ने लोकतांत्रिक तरीके से ही इमरजेंसी को हटाकर वापस लोकतंत्र की स्थापना की। तानाशाही की मानसिकता को, तानाशाही वृत्ति प्रवृत्ति को लोकतांत्रिक तरीके से पराजित करने का ऐसा उदाहरण पूरी दुनिया में मिलना मुश्किल है।
The Prime Minister highlighted that in the past few years, many big feats related to the space sector have been accomplished in the country. One of these achievements has been the creation of an agency named InSpace. He said this agency is promoting new opportunities in the space sector for the private sector of India. He pointed out that this beginning has especially attracted the youth of the country. The Prime Minister took pride in the fact that the number of startups in the space sector amounts to more than 100. Until a few years ago in the country, no one even thought about startups in the space sector. He said that all these startups are working on ideas which were either not thought about earlier or were considered impossible for the private sector. This is All India Radio giving you the news. For quick news updates round the clock, follow us on Twitter @AIR News Alerts.
India's Minister of Tourism and Culture, G. Kishan Reddy, says that New Delhi has proposed to hold about 200 conferences for G20 delegates at various places across the country after it assumes the G20 presidency in December later this year. He said this while addressing a function at Vaikom in Kottayam district in Kerala on Sunday. Mr. Reddy said up to 200 delegates from G20 countries will be attending each of these conferences, which will provide them with an opportunity to experience India in its true form. The conference will offer an excellent opportunity for the country to showcase its richness and culture. Russian Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu inspected Russian troop units involved in Ukraine. Russian Defense Ministry, in a statement, said that on Sunday, the command posts of Russian units, Army General Sergei Shoigu heard reports from the commanders on the current situation and actions of the Russian armed forces in the main operational areas. It was not immediately clear when the visit took place or if Shoigu had visited Ukraine itself.
Sri Lanka is struggling to secure fresh fuel supplies, Power and Energy Ministry said on Sunday. The crisis-hit country of 22 million people is down to just 15,000 tons of petrol and diesel to keep essential services running in the coming days. The island nation is facing its worst financial crisis in 7 decades, with foreign exchange reserves at record lows. Power and Energy Minister Kanchana Vijayasekara told reporters that the country is struggling to find suppliers. He said suppliers are reluctant to accept letters of credit from our banks. There are over $700 million in overdue payments, so now suppliers want advance payments. In the past 2 months, Sri Lanka largely received fuel via a $500 million Indian credit line. Vijayasekara said a petrol shipment due last Thursday failed to arrive and no fresh shipments are yet scheduled. The military, which has already been deployed at fuel stations to quell unrest, will now issue tokens to those waiting, the minister said. Separately, the government on Sunday asked about 1 million public employees to work from home until further notice. A top delegation from the U.S. Treasury and State Departments arrived in Colombo for a 3-day visit on Sunday to assess the situation. A team from the International Monetary Fund is already in Sri Lanka for talks on a possible $3 billion bailout package. South African police are investigating the deaths of at least 22 people at a nightclub in the coastal town of East London early on Sunday morning. It is unclear what led to the deaths of the young people who were reportedly attending a party to celebrate the end of winter school exams. Health Department spokesperson Sianda Manana said that at this point they cannot confirm the cause of death.
Iraqi Prime Minister Mustafa al-Kadhimi arrived in Iran on Sunday, Iranian state TV reported. He's visiting Tehran a day after he traveled to Saudi Arabia in a bid to revive talks between the regional rivals to ease years of hostility. Iran state TV said that Mustafa al-Kadhimi has arrived with a high-ranking delegation of political and economic officials to discuss regional and bilateral issues. Iran, the leading Shiite Muslim power, and Saudi Arabia, leading Sunni Muslim power, severed ties in 2016, with both parties backing allies fighting proxy wars across the region from Yemen to Syria and elsewhere. Home Minister of India Amit Shah on Sunday said that the Narendra Modi government has a zero-tolerance policy against drugs. On the occasion of International Day Against Drug Abuse and Legal Trafficking, Mr. Shah congratulated the Narcotics Control Bureau personnel, NGOs and their associated volunteers for their efforts in fulfilling the Prime Minister's resolve for drug-free India. He said the problem of drugs is a major threat to national security. Mr. Shah stated that Home Ministry has coordinated and institutionalized this fight against drugs. He, however, emphasized that for the complete eradication of drugs, public participation is necessary.
India's Minister for Information and Broadcasting, Anurag Singh Thakur, has said that rapidly expanding digital infrastructure in the country and ongoing advancements taking place in the AVGC, that is, animation, visual effects, gaming and comics sector, have the potential to make India the preferred post-production hub of the media and entertainment industry. He said this while delivering the keynote address at the National Conference on Changing Landscape of Media and Entertainment 2022 in Pune on Sunday. Mr. Thakur said a solid digital foundation for the AVGC sector is emerging across the country. He said the government has established a task force for this sector in order to develop world-class creative talent to meet domestic and global demand.
Like Prime Minister said, आपदा में अवसर देखना है. So you may see it as challenging times. I see it as an opportunity because India could become the world's largest skilled manpower, world's largest skilled workforce. And for that, many other such institutes must come across the country, not only in the big cities, but also in the tier 2 and the remote areas.
The minister said the media and entertainment ecosystem is a sunrise sector expected to generate 4 lakh crore rupees annually by 2025 and reach $100 billion or 7.5 lakh crore rupees industry by 2030. He further said that the Government of India has designated audiovisual services as one of the 12 champion service sectors and announced key policy measures aimed at nurturing sustained growth. Indian cricket team captain Rohit Sharma has tested positive for COVID-19 just days before the start of the rearranged test match against England that will begin from 1st of July. In an official release, the Board of Control for Cricket in India informed that Rohit Sharma has tested positive for COVID-19 following a rapid antigen test conducted yesterday. He is currently in isolation at the team hotel and is under the care of the BCCI medical team.
In archery, the Indian women's recurve team of Deepika Kumari, Ankita Bhagat and Simranjeet Kaur settled for a silver medal in Paris on Sunday. This comes after the trio's fairy tale run was halted by Chinese Taipei in a one-sided final at the World Cup Stage 3. India concluded their campaign with 1 gold and 2 silver medals, 2 of them coming in the compound section. It was a memorable return for world number 3 Deepika, who returned with a silver team medal after being sidelined following her Tokyo Olympics debacle. Now let us take a look at the major developments around the world as reported in the foreign press. First, we take a look at the press reports on China. The Guardian writes China has reported no new COVID-19 infections in Shanghai for the first time since March, as the country's latest outbreak subsides after months of lockdowns and other restrictions. Bloomberg writes Chinese lawmakers approved a change to the law that would allow it to fight back at any perceived insult at international sporting events. Business Standard writes Vietnam likely to replace China as factory of the world in the near future as Omicron flare-ups in China's manufacturing hubs like Guangdong province and Shanghai disrupted supply chains. Vietnam's Q1 economic figures appear to show promising outlook amid the pandemic. Now let's have a look at the press reports from Pakistan. The Express Tribune writes that former Prime Minister and Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf chairman Imran Khan on Saturday announced holding anti-government public gatherings in all major cities across the country on July the 2nd. According to Geo News report, Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif said Saturday that Pakistan wants to have good relations with its neighbouring countries, but its desire for peace should not be considered as a weakness. The Express Tribune writes that the State Bank of Pakistan moved on Saturday the Supreme Court against the Federal Shariat Court's decision to shift to an interest-free economy.
Now let us have a look at the press reports from Balochistan. According to the Express Tribune, Chief Minister Balochistan Mir Qadas Bizenjo said that the unannounced load shedding was hampering day-to-day life in Balochistan and demanded of the Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif to direct the Power Ministry to address this issue.
Now let's take a look at the press reports on Nepal. The Nepal government has reduced the price of petroleum products to be effective from Sunday. Speaking at a press conference in Kathmandu, Minister for Industry, Commerce and Supplies Dilendra Prasad Badu on Saturday informed that the government reduced the price of petrol by ₹20 per litre and diesel by ₹28 by adjusting the tax on petroleum products.
And now let us take a quick look at the headlines once again. Prime Minister Narendra Modi arrives in Germany to attend G7 summit, talks to focus on energy, food security, counter-terrorism, environment and democracy. New India is at forefront of Industry 4.0 revolution, asserts Prime Minister Modi, addressing the Indian community in Munich. In the 90th edition of Mann Ki Baat program, Prime Minister Modi exhorts Indians to never forget the dreadful period of emergency, says people of the country defeated dictatorial mindset through democratic means. New Delhi proposes to hold 200 conferences for G20 delegates across India to showcase its richness and culture. Sri Lanka faces problems in securing fresh fuel supplies over payment issues, says Power and Energy Minister. Indian cricket team captain Rohit Sharma tests positive for COVID-19 ahead of Birmingham Test match against England. And Indian women's recurve team wins silver medal in Paris. And now, before we end, let us listen to Mahatma Gandhi's favourite bhajan, Vaishnav Jan, by artists from Madagascar on their Independence Day.
Vaishnav Jan
And with that, we end this bulletin. We will be back at the same time tomorrow with the next edition of World News.